The prairie stretched endlessly under a bruised twilight sky, the wind whispering through the dry grasses like ghosts carrying forgotten secrets. Dust clung to every surface, coating the rickety boards of the old cabin that had long been abandoned. Thomas Callahan's boots crunched on the gravel path leading to its door, each step heavy with unease. He had ridden hard all day, chasing rumors and half-truths that had brought him here. But no map, no letter, no witness had prepared him for the sound that hit him as he pushed the warped door open. A baby cried. Not a wail from a nearby farmhouse or a lost child in town, but from inside this derelict cabin where no one should have been. The cry was sharp, urgent, and filled with a vulnerability that tugged at the very marrow of Thomas's chest. He paused, hand on the doorframe, eyes scanning the darkened room. The last remnants of sunlight filtered through the cracks in the walls, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air like tiny sparks of hope. Thomas's heart tightened. Memories of his own daughter, lost 5 winters ago to a fever he couldn't cure, rose unbidden. He swallowed hard, the bitter taste of regret lingering on his tongue. Who's here? He whispered, voice hoarse, carrying both fear and resolve. The cabin smelled of damp wood, old smoke, and abandonment. Broken chairs lay strewn across the floor, and a fireplace long dead held only the ghosts of warmth. The cry continued, louder now, and Thomas realized it came from beneath a tattered blanket in the corner. He approached cautiously, boots creaking against the floorboards. The baby's small face peeked out, streaked with tears and dirt, eyes wide with trust and terror all at once. Thomas's calloused hands trembled as he lifted the child, feeling the frailty of life in his arms. Where is your mother?" he murmured, rocking the baby gently. No answer came, only another soft whimper. A sense of dread settled over him like a storm cloud. This was no ordinary abandonment. Someone had left this child here for a reason, a cruel choice whose motives Thomas could not yet fathom. A sudden sound made him freeze, the scrape of boots on gravel outside, slow and deliberate. Shadows stretched across the broken window, and Thomas's pulse quickened. He clutched the baby closer. Whoever was out there had eyes that watched the cabin like vultures circling a dying land. "Stay quiet," he whispered to the child, his voice barely more than the wind rustling the prairie grass. "I won't let them take you." He scanned the cabin for any weapon, any means of defense, but found only a rusted hatchet and a handful of old nails. Thomas swallowed his fear. The law had left these lands long ago. Outlaws ruled and mercy was a forgotten luxury. Yet he could not leave, not this child, not now. A shadow moved against the doorframe. A man stepped into the fading light, tall, lean, and carrying the weight of danger in every line of his face. Thomas froze, instincts screaming, but his eyes never left the baby. "You shouldn't be here," the man said, his voice low, dangerous. "That child belongs to someone else." Thomas straightened, jaw tight. "Not while I'm standing," he replied. "Not while I draw breath." The wind howled outside as if in agreement, rattling the cabin walls. The baby whimpered, sensing the tension, and Thomas's heart clenched tighter. The man's eyes flicked to the child, a shadow crossing his face, uncertainty, fear, something buried deep beneath the years of violence that had hardened him. The silence stretched, taut as a drawn bow. And then, without warning, a gunshot rang from somewhere beyond the cabin, distant, but sharp enough to make Thomas flinch. The baby screamed, startled, and Thomas pressed a hand to its mouth, muffling the cry. He knew then, with a certainty that chilled him, that the cabin would not remain a sanctuary for long. Whatever forces had left this child here, or were hunting it now, would not stop until they had what they wanted. And Thomas Callahan, weary traveler, broken father, and reluctant hero, was about to step into a storm that would test every ounce of courage he possessed. He tightened his grip, steeling himself. "I don't know who left you here," he murmured to the child, his voice trembling, "but I swear I'll keep you safe. No matter what it takes." From beyond the cabin, the prairie wind carried another sound, faint, deliberate, and unmistakably human, the soft, dragging footsteps of someone moving closer. And Thomas realized with a sinking heart that the abandoned cabin had only just begun to tell its story. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dust-choked floor. In that fleeting twilight, Thomas held the baby close, knowing the night ahead would test him in ways he had never imagined. The first chapter of their journey had begun, and it would not end quietly. Thank you for watching part 1. The tension is rising. Secrets are waiting to be revealed, and the story is about to plunge deeper into danger. If you want to know what happens next, hit that like button, subscribe, and type next in the comments so I know you're ready for part 2. Night fell like a heavy curtain over the prairie. The wind moaned through the skeletal trees, carrying the faint scent of smoke and danger. I crouched low in the cabin, the baby wrapped tightly against my chest, its tiny heartbeat trembling against my own. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle beyond the door, set my nerves on edge. Whoever had left this child here, or whoever was hunting it, was still out there, patient, waiting, unseen. The man who had stepped into the cabin earlier lingered outside. I could hear the slow crunch of his boots on gravel, the subtle click of a revolver being checked. Sweat dampened my brow as I whispered to the baby, "Shh. It's all right. I've got you." The child's eyes blinked up at me, wide and trusting, and in that fragile moment, I felt a surge of protective resolve unlike anything I had known before. Suddenly, the door rattled. A voice, low and urgent, called from the shadows. "I know you're in there. Hand over the child." I stiffened. My hand went to the rusted hatchet I had grabbed earlier, and my eyes darted to the window, searching for escape or cover. "I won't let you take him," I shouted, my voice raw with fear and defiance. The man outside cursed under his breath and drew a revolver, the metallic click echoing like a death knell in the quiet night. My mind raced. I had no backup, no reinforcements, and only a crumbling cabin as my fortress. The baby stirred, a soft whimper breaking the tense silence. I pressed the child against my chest, feeling the weight of innocence and life in my arms. This was no ordinary fight, this was about protecting hope itself. From the darkness, the man outside laughed bitterly. "You think you can stand against me? That child is not yours to save." He stepped closer, gun raised, his shadow stretching across the cabin floor. "You've got 2 choices, cowboy. Walk out and leave the baby, or die where you stand." My jaw tightened. Memories of my own daughter, taken by illness years before, surged through me. I would not repeat the mistakes of the past. "You don't know me," I said, my voice steady now, filled with quiet fury. "You don't know what I'll do to protect him." A shot cracked. I dove, dragging the baby with me behind the overturned table. Splinters flew and dust filled the air. The baby cried, tiny hands grasping at my shirt, and I pressed a finger to its lips, whispering, "She." "It's all right. Just a little longer." Outside, the man cursed again, retreating slightly. "Coward," he spat. "This isn't over. I'll be back next time. You won't get a warning." The sound of his boots faded into the night, leaving only the wind and the soft whimpering of the child. I exhaled slowly, tension leaving me in ragged gasps. My eyes scanned the cabin, settling on the baby's face. "You're safe for now," I murmured, brushing a strand of hair from the child's forehead. "I promise you, I'll protect you." I knew that promise was dangerous. Whoever had left the child here had enemies, powerful ones, and I had no idea what I was up against. But in that moment, holding the fragile life in my arms, I felt a courage deeper than fear. Every scar, every loss, every regret in my life had led me here to this one purpose: keeping the child alive. I stepped toward the window, peering out into the darkness. Shadows shifted along the tree line. Figures moved silently, watching, waiting. The baby stirred, and I pressed a finger to its lips. "Not yet," I whispered. "We're not finished yet." Suddenly, from the far edge of the cabin, a faint sound reached me, a whisper of a voice, almost carried by the wind. "Thomas, help me." My heart skipped. I froze, straining to hear. The voice came again, closer, trembling with urgency and fear. I realized with a jolt that I was not alone in this abandoned place. Someone else had been trapped here, someone who might know the truth about the child. Or the reason it had been left in the cabin. The door rattled again. A gust of wind swept through the broken boards, carrying the faint scent of smoke and earth. I held the baby tighter, my heart hammering. The night had grown darker, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. I knew the moment of reckoning was approaching. With a deep breath, I stood, cradling the child. "I don't know who you are," I said to the shadows beyond the cabin, "but if you've come to harm this child, you'll answer to me." From outside, silence answered, heavy and thick. But I knew it would not last. Whatever forces had abandoned this baby here, whatever secrets lay hidden in the dark, were circling closer. preparing for the confrontation I had been dreading. I set my jaw, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over me like armor. This night would change everything. And as the wind howled through the prairie, carrying the cries of the innocent and the guilty alike, I realized I could not run from the storm. Not anymore. The abandoned cabin, once a place of emptiness and decay, had become the center of a battle for survival, for truth, and for the fragile life in my arms. And somewhere beyond the darkness, the real danger was waiting, patient, silent, and merciless. The first light of dawn stretched across the prairie like a pale promise. Shadows retreated, revealing the jagged silhouettes of trees, the cracked earth, and the abandoned cabin where Thomas Callahan still held the baby close. The night had been long, filled with fear, whispers, and the haunting knowledge that someone or something had been hunting this child. But Thomas's resolve had not wavered. Every heartbeat, every cautious step had been for this tiny life entrusted to him. From outside, movement stirred. Figures emerged from the tree line, a small group, cautious, hands raised not in hostility but in desperation. Among them was a young woman, ragged, eyes wide with relief and guilt. Thomas's brow furrowed, but he did not lower the baby from his chest. Is he safe? The woman asked, her voice trembling. Thomas's grip tightened protectively. He is, but I need answers. Who left him here? Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I did. I had no choice. She stepped closer, the fear in her posture betraying years of secret suffering. Is he safe? The woman asked, her voice trembling. Thomas's grip tightened protectively. He is, but I need answers. Who left him here? Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I did. I had no choice. She stepped closer, the fear in her posture betraying years of secret suffering. Thomas's grip tightened protectively. He is, but I need answers. Who left him here? Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I did. I had no choice. She stepped closer, the fear in her posture betraying years of secret suffering. He is, but I need answers. Who left him here? Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I did. I had no choice. She stepped closer, the fear in her posture betraying years of secret suffering. But I need answers. Who left him here? Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I did. I had no choice. She stepped closer, the fear in her posture betraying years of secret suffering. Then Thomas's voice cut through, steady and commanding. Leave now, or answer for what you've done. The outlaws hesitated. Their leader, tall and cruel, sneered. You think you can stop us, cowboy? That child isn't yours to save. Thomas tightened his jaw, his gaze unwavering. Try me. Gunshots rang out, echoing off the distant hills. Dust swirled, and Thomas moved with precision, his training and instinct taking over. The outlaws faltered, confusion spreading through their ranks. The baby whimpered but remained unharmed, cradled securely against Thomas's chest. Within moments, the outlaws realized they had underestimated him. They fled, leaving the cabin, the prairie, and the small band of... Dust swirled, and Thomas moved with precision, his training and instinct taking over. The outlaws faltered, confusion spreading through their ranks. The baby whimpered but remained unharmed, cradled securely against Thomas's chest. Within moments, the outlaws realized they had underestimated him. They fled, leaving the cabin, the prairie, and the small band of survivors in tense, trembling silence. Within moments, the outlaws realized they had underestimated him. They fled, leaving the cabin, the prairie, and the small band of survivors in tense, trembling silence. Thomas lowered the baby gently onto a blanket, checking each finger and toe as though weighing the fragile miracle in his hands. The woman knelt beside the child, tears streaming freely. I didn't know if anyone would come, she whispered. You were brave enough to hope, Thomas replied softly. That's why he's alive. For the first time in years, the cabin seemed less like a place of abandonment and more like a sanctuary. Thomas looked out toward the rising sun, the light painting the prairie gold. The journey had been perilous and the scars would remain, but life, fragile, stubborn, and precious, had been protected. He knelt, holding the baby close once more. You're safe now, he murmured. No one will ever leave you alone again. The woman placed a trembling hand over her heart. Thank you. For everything. Thomas smiled faintly, a shadow of sorrow mixed with relief. We all have our battles, he said. But some of them are worth fighting for. The prairie wind carried their laughter, soft and tentative, across the open land. Somewhere in the distance, the faint sound of a horse galloping echoed, a reminder that the world beyond this cabin was still wild, still dangerous but also full of hope. And as Thomas stepped outside, holding the baby against his chest, the first true warmth of the morning sun washed over them both. In that quiet golden light, the past felt distant, the night conquered, and the future uncertain but full of promise stretched out endlessly across the prairie. The abandoned cabin had kept its secret no longer. It had revealed a story of courage, redemption, and the enduring power of hope. And for Thomas, the child, and the woman who had risked everything to leave him, life would never be the same again. Thanks for watching our 3-part story. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. Let us know in the comments what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until then, stay curious,